The Board of Trustees of Harris County Department of Education now convened at a regular board meeting on Wednesday, August 21st, 2019 in the boardroom at 6300 Irvington Boulevard, Texas at 106. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present at this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the department are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, the board members received information related to items on today's agenda. Agenda items are not necessarily handled in the order listed in the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of the meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted under sections 551.071 to 551.084, inclusive of the Texas Government Code. I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones be turned to off or the silent position. Thank you for taking time this afternoon to join us for your interest in the Harris County Department of Education. I'd like to ask Brenda Mullins to come forward and give us our invocation.
Heavenly Father, we ask that you guide us, and we thank you for the opportunity to help and make decisions for children. Father, we ask that you work with our board so that they are able to work together and to continue the great work of HCDE. We thank you every day for giving us a chance to make a difference in the lives of students. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And if I can get Gabriela Hernandez to do our pledges for us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Great. Thank you so much. I'd like to start the open forum. And the first one on the list is Andrea Duhan. Okay.
Thanks for that. Hi guys, I'm Andrea Duhan. I just wanted to talk a little bit about on 8A, it says it's going to be in an executive session. You're going to deliberate the appointment of a dismissal of HCDE employee. I assume that that's based on Trustee Moore stepping down. I just want to ask you to think to yourselves whenever you're voting for that or whenever you're deliberating on it. Are you voting based on their experience and their knowledge and their capability of serving this board? Or are you going to be voting with partisanship in mind? We know one of them is wrong. We know that voting on this based on who is going to vote with us in the future is wrong. We want to do this based on someone's experience and capability of serving this Department of Education. I ask that you take that consciously. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleen Vera.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Colleen Vera. I'm a retired Texas teacher and a taxpayer of Harris County. When you get to these agenda items, I was hoping you could answer these questions. On agenda items 6C3 and 7G, you're going to be accepting or approving grants that received through the Harris County, the Education Foundation. I just posted a story last week on my blog about the Education Foundation and some of the strange going on there. There's a real issue with the fact that it's, by the documents that I received through Open Records, that it's employees of Harris County Department of Education applying for grants through the name of the foundation, not the foundation people actually applying for the grants and things like that. So make sure that when you are approving these grants, that you understand what the process was, that the proper process was followed, and that the funds are flowing properly, because that's your job as board members. I just wanted you to check it out because you're the only ones who have the authority to actually pay attention to what's going on there. The second one is 6A1. It's a budget amendment reports. It appears that you're reducing the adult ed grant money by $760,000. So I don't know if that's grants you didn't get, because I know last month we were talking about building an education or an adult ed building. If we're losing money on the grants, it seems like maybe we shouldn't be building buildings, but maybe I'm reading it wrong. I just want to make sure you could explain that when you get to the budget amendment reports. And then 7A, it appears that you want an increase of $200,000 for legal fees for this school year, but this school year is only until August 31st, which is just 2 more weeks. So that's like $100,000 a week in legal fees. If you could explain why you would possibly need an extra $200,000 when you already had $300,000 for this year. I can understand it being next school year, but on this school year, it seems very strange. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Moving on. Annual updates from schools division. Anthony Mays, senior.
All right, while she's passing it out, good afternoon. If we could have everybody from the schools division to stand up, please. And so this is a team, go ahead, you can give them a round of applause. And so with all of the good stuff that I'm about to deliver to you all, these are the people that make the magic happen at the ground level. And so school is in session. We do have a building full of teachers, and so once we wrap up here, they'll get back to the campuses to support them. Thank you. So just a quick review. Our mission with the schools division is partnering with Harris County School Districts to provide educational programs to students identified with behavioral, emotional, intellectual, or developmental disabilities. And so we serve students who are challenged with substance abuse. This is a new piece for us, intellectually, developmentally, behaviorally challenged, physically disabled, and who are on the autism spectrum. And so we work to meet the needs of those students throughout Harris County. And so you all have a copy of this presentation. So this is just an outline of our team members. We do have a couple of new faces that I would recognize. Gabriela Hernandez, who did lead us in the pledge, if you don't mind standing up again. She'll be serving as our parent engagement liaison this year, and so today's challenge for her was to do the Texas pledge because she joined us from California. So thank you. And I would challenge any board member to say the next name of our instructional coach, Ms. Nkeche Ihe-Jerika. So I've been practicing, if you don't mind standing up. And so she's joining us from all over, supporting our teachers. She's led behavioral units as well as autism units, and she's also had her own consulting company focusing on meeting the needs of students and parents. So we thank you and are happy to have you joining our team today. And so, of course, I do want to especially recognize each one of our principals, but especially our new principal. We got a chance to meet her last month. And she's hit the ground running, but if our 4 principals could just stand up, please. Yeah. Thank you. And so Ms. Trevino Jones is getting baptized, and so everybody's here to support her. So real quick, I do want to point out, we served 790 students this year, which is an increase from last year. Within your presentation, within your PowerPoint, you should have our contracts, and you can see from one campus to the next, you should see an increase. So This is AB East. We increased from 153 to 158, and those are just contracts year to date. We still are receiving contracts. West, 132. Again, we currently stand at 132, but we're still accepting contracts. High Point East, 172 to 177. And Fortis Academy, a pretty significant increase from 8 to 43 contracts for the next year. And so we did add 3 new districts that we're supporting this year. Splendora, Shepherd, and Liberty ISD are districts that are new to our list. We do have several charter schools still continuing to reach out and request our support. And so some highlights for this year. Again, our assistant principals, nurses, and counselors did receive a 4.5% increase. Again, we thank our board for that support. We do have districts around us that also had increases, and so we wanted to remain competitive. And so you can see the increases there for our staff members. And so again, we just highlighted some of those new positions, and so they're already at work. We did have to add 1 teacher to High Point East to help us maintain our ratios there. And so our parent engagement liaison has already been busy at work. I think she just came in from a home visit, and when she leaves here, I believe she's also headed out to another home visit. And so again, our goal with the parent liaison is to extend ourselves to the autism community as well as the mental health community. We want to be able to provide those resources to our parents and the families that we serve. And so she'll be leading up some new initiatives. So you should see us active in the Special Olympics this year, as well as some opportunities for us to increase visitors and volunteers on our campuses. So again, thank you all for that additional position. Our instructional coach, she'll do more of the boots on the ground work, supporting teachers directly by modeling instruction, offering monthly professional development. And so we know that that's something that helps our teachers as we work to retain staff. Again, these are just an outline of some of the supports that we have on each one of our campuses. The new pieces that we have are our instructional coach and the parent engagement liaison. Another highlight from this past year is a groundbreaking, and so that new campus will have a sensory room. We do want to make sure that we offer that sensory room at AB East as well, but this is an opportunity, again, to engage our students that are on the autism spectrum and to support meeting their needs. There'll also be a social gardening space to help support the needs of those students, as well as some other pieces that, again, will help us with safety and security, such as the curved walls within the building. Something that I do want to make sure that I highlight this year is our growing relationship with the University of Houston downtown. We did host our professional development there this year, and we were able to collaborate with that campus to increase our capacity. Again, retention and growth is something that we're focused on. And so one of the offerings that we're going to have from the University of Houston downtown is that our TAs are going to now be able to work to earn their initial degree and join our schools division, and our teachers will be able to work to earn their master's degrees in the area of special education and again be able to contribute to the schools division. We also hosted interns, and so we're working to grow the intern program where at least both of our campuses will have 2 new teachers or 2 interns on each campus that will hopefully join our ranks as we take on vacancies. And so we did have our celebration this past year, our Teacher of the Year. We maintained that, and we also wanted to add our Educational Aide of the Year because we know that our educational aides do a significant amount of work, and so that's Mr. Wickstrom and Mr. Clay that were able to earn that award this past year. And so again, another highlight for us this past year, or as we move into the next year, is we're going to be working with therapy services to provide the music programs on both of our AB campuses, and this is just another offering for our students that need that support, that are challenged with emotionally disturbed or, again, autism. And SIRE, equine therapy. And so last but not least, last year we did our T-test, but this year we'll do our T-PEST. T-test was a new evaluation system for our teachers, but this year we'll have T-PEST, which again is a rigorous tool used to support the success of our principals. And so those are our highlights. Thank you.
Comment.
Thank you.
Can we make a
Yes, go
comment?
ahead.
Mr. Mays,
Yes, sir.
thank you for the good report, and thank you for all the new people you got on board, and glad to see they're here.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that you did increase the enrollment there in the Fortis Academy
Yes, sir.
substantially, and that's good, and we need to continue with that. And do you know the maximum enrollment that we could have there?
Maximum enrollment, we're trying to stay between, again, the 80 and 90 number. As we
Okay.
visited those campuses throughout the U.S., none of those campuses were large campuses. We want to maintain the intimacy and that ratio to be able to provide those students with the support that they'll get on that campus versus at a larger campus where they may fall through the cracks.
That's good. Thank you on that. And one other comment I just want to make is that in looking through this, that working with the different universities, University of Houston and University of Houston downtown, I think that's good, and keep up the good work.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The superintendent's up.
Thank you, Chair. Really only one announcement to make. This Friday, we will have our annual staffing meeting. We call that convocation. I would really, really, really like to invite and hope and look forward to our board members being able to attend that. That is the only meeting that we have each year where we get all of the staff members in one facility. One of the exciting things by getting 1,200 people in one room is just the energy that's in the room. I can tell you that many of our staff are extremely excited about starting off the school year. But I think it's important for them also to see how much the governing body of Harris County Department of Ed supports the work that they do. Certainly, I want to be able to give kudos and acknowledge our board for some of the decisions y'all have made this year. Ultimately, throughout the budget process, there's been a number of decisions that have made that directly impact our employees. You might hear a term that you've never heard before when you come to our conversation, our convocation. Sarah's laughing because she knows what it is. Does the audience know what it is? It's get sized. Now, I'm not going to tell you what that means, but you need to come to the convocation. I'll explain it for you. But this year's theme is the realm of possibilities. And so that will be an interesting thing to talk about this Friday and how it relates to the work and the mission that we're on as public servants for Harris County. And with that, that's all I have. Oh, the program starts at 10. I think we open doors at 8. Breakfast at 8:30. Registration at 9. See, I was close. But the program starts at 10. So look forward to everybody being there. Look forward to us kicking off another great year. We had an excellent year last year. And hope to see you there. That's it.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, Trustee Sumner's not here, so he won't have his report. So are there any other board members that have a report to give? Trustee Cantu.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge an employee who was highlighted in the superintendent's weekly report recently. I met him in the elevator during while coming to one of my first board meetings, and he told me his name, and he told me he worked in IT, and we just chatted just that few minutes while we were on the elevator, and he mentioned that he would volunteer with the adult ed program after work. And I was so impressed, and gave me an insight as to the type of and caliber of employees we have. And that young man is named Robert Bell, and I'm glad that you highlighted him, and it was a nice story to read about how he helped an employee from Metro who needed to get his GED, helped him cross that finish line to help that gentleman at work. And so I just wanted to acknowledge and salute Robert Bell, one of our employees, for the work he does day in and day out, and for his volunteering with outside of his job with our program. So just a salute to him. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you so much. Okay, so monthly financials, Dr. Jesus Mesqua.
have that impact on folks. They leave. You want to hear numbers? The financial highlights as of July 31st, 2019. All our reports are posted on our website, budget amendment report, and there's also a 1-minute briefing on each one of those. The balance sheet as of July 31st, we have $40,984,470, liabilities of $1,785,884, and equity and appropriated fund balance of $40,984,470. This is the estimated fund balance as of July 31st, and we have appropriations of $212,290. We have some excess current revenues over resources that will be spent during the rest of the month of August. Financial ratios, we have 41% and fund balance to expenditures ratio, a little higher than a year ago at 38%. Working capital ratio, 39 million versus 34 million of a year ago. Undesignated ratio, 45%, same as last year. Debt to income ratio at 7%, same as last year. Tax revenue to total tax revenue ratio, 24%, a little lower than a year ago at 27%. Indirect cost ratio, even at 3% from last year. Fee for service ratio, we're at 22%, a little lower than a year ago at the same time at 24%. Fee for service growth ratio, we're at 5%, where last year we're at even due to the Harvey impact. Fund balance activity during the month of October and November that were amendments that impact the appropriation fund balance were $72,290 and $140,000. Revenues year-to-date billed approximately we're at 98% of the year, 55% in special revenues, 100% in debt service. So overall, budget to actual received and billed, we're at 82% from revenue to budget. In terms of revenues and appropriations, we're 114 in revenues and appropriations of 128 million. That's basically the capital projects that's basically the delta between those two. Expenditures, we're at general fund at 77%. July is the 11th month, which is 92%, so we're not spending also at the same rate, so it's below that. Special revenues is at 63%. Overall, budget to actual in terms of encumbered and expend, we're at 71% budget to actual. We still have 1 month and also accruals for the end of the year. Donations received for the month of July were $14,076.37, $500 in cash and in kind of $13,576.37, primarily for donations received in Safe Schools, Head Start, Case for Kids, and various Head Starts throughout the department. In terms of values, we started the year with 412 billion in values and 37 billion as on certified under protest. As of July, we are at 445 billion and 625 million on certified, which puts us about 4 billion less than when we started the year. We assume a tax rate based on 449 billion, and we're right now at 445 billion. So it's running a little bit low in terms of the certified values at the end of the year. We projected the budget at looking at the new year for 461 billion, and the actual values have come in at 483 billion. Next month we will have the presentation regarding that those values. So far, because of the value drop, we're going to see a decline in projected revenue of 193,261 from the levy because it didn't materialize because of the loss to protest from the appraisal review board. Revenues received so far, we're at 22,806,570. We still have 500,000 to collect for the month of August, which is going to be kind of hard to collect in the month of August, being that most of them are already come in. So we're at 97%. We also have about $500,000 in delinquent refunds that affected our delinquent tax. So we're actually not going to see $150,000 in those revenues for delinquent because we've had about $500,000 in refunds. After all that, we still have $22,949,647 in revenues, and then payments to HCAD of $170,178, and tax office fees of $448,185. Our disbursements for the month were 572 checks, 695 transactions, and 6 transfers, totaling $3,399,366. The detail of all the register has been posted on our website and is also part of your packet. Segment information, we have education certification, benefit variance as budgeted as $342,709. Records management, again, that includes encumbrances and some amounts that are yet to be billed, $368,068. School-based therapy of $1,175,024, and schools of $2,159,983. Choice partners, our revenues there are at a 77% ratio with a benefit variance of $6,154,022 for the year as of July 31st. Our budget amendments, there's 3 of them, general fund for the net effect of $9,279. Our grants are $424,584, and choice of $3,381,789. In the general fund, we have some transfers between accounts and between functions totaling $523,073. So you see the positive and the negative. That's a net effect in fund balance. That's just one account to another. And then we also have allocation of fees of $283,140, also between accounts. So the only increase is a grant for CASE All Earth EcoBot of $9,279 in the general fund. In the special revenue funds, in our grants, we have new grants of $130,000, $3,068, $77,316, $14,500, $11,000, $765,361 for adult ed, and $183,816. We also have an adjustment to our grant, and that's not because we decrease a grant, it's because the grant starts on July, and so it rolls over into the new year, and so some of that we've already spent, and so we're basically reducing so that we do not overspend that, because the grant starts from July 1 to June 30th, so we're basically adjusting for the new fiscal year. So it's not that we have a reduction, it's that it falls between fiscal periods. Choice partners of $3,181,079, revenues received in the Choice Partner Fund. Our construction update. This is the 2016 PFC bond series. We have payments of $3,055,277, and we have earned interest of $408,409, of which approximately $42,000 is set aside for arbitrage payable to the IRS. As of July 31st, our balance is $9,348,131, with also retainage of $65,682. This is our payment log, and those are payments have been presented in the past of the PFC, and so because there's not a PFC every month, we present all the ones that are being processed since inception to date, and so you'll see a list of those, included $3,055,277. In terms of the project to date by years, 2017, 18, and 19, and see, this is where we're at to date, and the balance is $9,348,131 as of July 31st. Timeline is March 2019 and completion of the latter part of October. In terms of our foundation's revenues and expenditures, we have a balance sheet of $86,044. We have revenues of $126,725 and earned revenues of $730, restricted for EcoBot, And then we have program contacts and expenditures of $133,476, inclusive of some of the grants that you have in the agenda later on today. And so those are the expenditures and the net amount of service charges for the foundation. We have the list of activities by program listed in the total restricted and also the unrestricted amounts for the foundation. That's the monthly report as of July. If you have any questions, I can go into the investment report.
On the $9,000, that was the difference here, you netted it out, you said it was a net difference of $9,000?
For the budget amendment?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at that, and I'm seeing that therapy-based was negative $273,000, and then it appears that all went up to the retirement and leave benefits?
Yes, when we have people that leave, we have to pay them some of the retirement, and so we had to make an amendment, and so we cover line items between the line items so as to not to increase or use any of the fund balance, so we use transfer between accounts.
So you moved it from school-based therapy services?
We move it, I don't have the detail that you're looking at, but we moved it between line items in the general fund.
All right, and that's fine. I'm looking at some of these other things. But then there was a $55,000 thing that was posted here for an increase in the superintendent's office. Can you give me any idea what that $55,000 was?
I don't have the detail in front of me. If you give me a second. What page are you on?
I'm on page 97. It's page 2 of 8 on the budget amendment report.
Okay, it's probably as part of salaries and also accounts in that particular division. So during the year, if there are any salary increases that they don't get budgeted at that time, so we have to make an adjustment at the end of the year to cover any expenditures that have already been approved by the school board.
Okay, so the approved budget was $515,000, and with the approval of this, we're increasing his budget by $55,000. Is that correct?
Yes, in that line item 571,376, and so we have a detail of line items that make up to that.
Okay. And is there any reason why we're getting ready to pass it as an action item on the consensus? It seems like there's a lot of movement here that are over the $50,000, normal
Yes,
review.
but these are not purchases. These are transfers between accounts for line items, budgeted line items, so that we do not have at the end of the year between the different functions anyone that has more monies that have been over, and so we transfer between accounts into the different by functions. Our account code is about 20 codes, and so we go from function 11 or function 41 or 21, and so you're not seeing a lot of that detail here, so you just see the summary.
I mean, I see a department-wide $483,000 decrease in that budget. Is that just for accounting so that we know what is spent in each particular division then?
Yeah, so that
As
we
opposed
can
to us-
allocate to the division where it belongs, and so sometimes we have a budget on department-wide, and so we move the money around to basically to meet the budget requirement for those divisions.
Okay, and so the net effect of that was only $9,000?
$9,279.
And that was specific to the
And
item
it's
that you had
actually an
just-
increase in the
for case.
an increase in the revenue and the expense, so it's no impact to our fund balance.
Okay. Okay, so I guess I can, well, let me ask you about this. You have something in here in the consent item also with regard to let's see, where is that? It's the Education Foundation.
Yes, I believe it's a grant that's coming from the Houston Endowment to the foundation and then to the Department of Education.
Do we have the reports required for that to give to the Houston Endowment?
The reports?
Yeah, in the I read through the requirements for the grant, and it specifically states that there are reports that needed to be so that they get
Yeah.
those reports that comply with what the requirements were.
They go to the endowment.
Yes, they were, okay. Is there any way we can, or I can see them at some point?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Make a note of that. The investment report for the month of July, we have all our funds are the total of our portfolio is $48,933,096. PFC of $9,565,294, and all their funds are between the different pools: Lone Star, TexPool, Techstar, Chase, and so 90% of those are in our investment pool. In the PFC, 98% are at TexPool, and the remaining are Bank of Texas. The comparison from a year ago, difference of $4,977,082, or 11% change from a year ago. Pretty much all our funds are overnight in our pool, so we've been receiving the interest as interest rates go up. We have total year-to-date earnings of $709,885 and PFC of $222,488. We are earning 2.37 and the average benchmark is 0.207. Our rates have kind of remained stagnant here the last 3 or 4 months at 2.35, 38, 39. The Fed did make a move to reduce some of the rates, but it hasn't been trickled down into the rates at this point in time. They still remain at 2.30, 2.40 rates for short-term rates. Questions on the investments? Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Cantu.
Just in regards to the decreases in the adult ed budget because of that state grant that didn't come with the HJC grant, and there was also an increase that I guess nets even higher from the feds.
This is that the grant starts on July the 1st, and our fiscal year starts on September 1. And so when we do the budget, we appropriate the entire amount for the 12-month period. And then as we go along and we see that we've already spent some of the first 2 months of the year, we reduce it for the following year so as not to overspend, because the grant, it's only for 12 months and not 14 months. And so that's what you see in adjustment.
Maybe at next month's meeting, we could get a report from adult ed to see if, doesn't have to be very long, just on how this, losing this grant and gaining the federal money is gonna affect that division.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to the consensus items. Do any of the board members have anything that they want to flag to discuss? Okay, I want to flag if we can take out D4 and C3. We'll discuss those after we clear up the rest of them. Any discussion? I need a motion to accept the consensus items, save D4 and C3.
So moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Okay, all in favor of passing those consensus items, please raise your hand. 6-0. Okay, the first item was D4 or 3. However, the numbers in my book are messed up. So, and it's a different page number than what is actually referenced. It's actually page 242. It's the item, consider approval to submit HCDE Head Start 2019 continuing ed grant in the amount of $12 million for the period of January 1, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. Really has nothing to do with that.
Motion.
Discuss. Okay. Oh, that is true. I'm making a motion that we discuss item C3, or C4, depending on what the number is.
Discussing.
Okay, I got a second? Okay. I made the motion. Michael Wolf made the second. Okay, my question is,
Oh, you gotta have a vote. You gotta have a
no,
vote.
no, not to discuss. We're discussing it.
Oh.
Okay, so my question is, on the rationale page, on page 242, it talks about in collaboration with the Education Foundation of Harris County. And we've had a lot of information with regard to Education Foundation not meeting, and yet somehow we're in collaboration with, and I'm just trying to figure out how we use the Education Foundation for any kind of collaborative enterprise. And should that just be removed and it just be with HCDE as opposed to EFHC? And that's a question. Go ahead.
So for this $11,000 grant from Tegna, my understanding is the foundation's never received it before, but the foundation president and Head Start worked together and attended the interview for this Tegna Foundation grant together. And so this was picked up and covered. The Tegna Foundation grant granted a number of awardees, and we were one of them. So this $11,000 grant.
Well, no, it is right here. It's this one right here.
Is it the Technical grant?
Yes, it is. It's the one that has the,
Tegna
yeah,
Foundation
we've
grant
got our
for
numbers
$11,000.
mixed around here, so that's why we're having a little bit of confusion over here. Yes,
Is that what we are talking about, the $11,000 grant?
you're correct. You are correct, yes.
Okay, so the foundation president and Head Start attended the interview together.
And
for
who's
this
the
interview.
president of the foundation?
James Edgar,
And he was elected when?
2016? It was before I was here.
Can we get it on record when it was? It's 2016? That
I
he was
believe
elected?
it was 2016.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can find out. We can double check with him.
Okay, great. So this is gonna go through the Education Foundation and then to us, or
Correct.
Education
So
Foundation
this
going to spend the money?
This grant is for the purchasing of books for the Super Mentor program that Head Start facilitates. And it's about a $50,000 expenditure, if I'm remembering the details correctly. And so this is $11,000 toward the purchase of the books that the Super Mentors read with their classrooms, and then the students get to take the books home to help build their personal libraries. So the foundation applied and will send the money straight to Head Start's program to buy books.
Without expense, this would just be $11,000 income.
Correct. It
What-
goes straight through to Head Start.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I move to approve the item C3.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Next item is the D4, which is the interlocal revenue contract fiscal year 2020, the aggregate amount of $60,500 for the academic behavior list. My question is, how much do we charge for out-of-district contracts?
I believe that's 23,500.
Right. for our AB campuses.
Okay, if it's 23,500 for Fort Bend ISD, and we have 11 out-of-county extended years, how does that come up to 60,000?
Yeah, the summer school rate is different.
What is the summer school rate for out-of-county?
I don't have the summer school rate right here in front of me. I do have our rates, but I can find out and get back with you.
100.
Okay,
It's
the
on the
50
agenda.
It says 5,500 for in-county districts back here. On the actual page, it says in-county, and that's why I'm trying to figure out the subject says 55,000 here for in-county rates, extended school year, summer school. And then for, out on the actual agenda, it says out-of-county for 5,500. So I'm just trying to figure out which is right, the agenda item or the actual rationale.
It's out of county. The out of county rationale is correct.
Okay, so okay, so you're saying that the agenda is or the rationale is mistaken?
Fort Bend is an out of county district, and they should have an out of county rate.
Okay. Even though it says Fort Bend for 11 in-county extended school rights contracts in the amount of $5,500 each, even though it says in-county, that's a typo.
Yeah, Mr.
Correct.
President, I think we have a
Right.
typo.
Right.
Correct on the agenda.
Okay, so then my question still stands, what is the in-county rate for that summer school?
I can find out the out of county rate. I don't have the out of county rate. Outside of the 5,500 is what we should be charging, but again, let me check back.
Yeah, we've established that that's the out-of-county. I was wondering what the in-county was.
Right, I don't have the in county right here in front of me, but I can find out and get back with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Understanding that that is the out-of-county rate, not the in-county rate, I make a motion that we approve item D4.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor of passing the consensus item D4, please raise your hand. Okay. Moving on to the non-consensus items. Item A, consider approval to increase the allowable maximum contracts under CH Local fiscal year 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, my question was raised by one of our speakers today. It has to do with the Karowski, Bradshaw, Spalding, Nicholas Lamp, Languel, original contract of $300,000, moving that up to $500,000 in this fiscal year, which has another couple of weeks, and then just tagging that on to the next item, which they're also asking for an increase for the next fiscal year as well. So I was just wondering what the justification is for $200,000. I mean, that's a, that's a factor of a pretty significant. It's a pretty significant increase from 200 or from 300 to 500. I mean.
Yes, we get our monthly bills, and we've had some additional meetings and their hearings that require additional legal services. And so towards the end of the year in August, we look at all the accounts that need to be amended, and we amend them at the last month of the year. We have some bills that we're projecting that is going to go up to $200,000, and it's not just for 2 more weeks. It's from say 3 or 4 months back that we needed to catch up in some of those bills. So we have approximately those amounts that we need to amend at this time. And for next year, we're projecting hopefully will not be we will not have hearings and additional hearings that we would have next year. But if in case we did, then that's why we added the number for next year.
Okay, I know we had another attorney earlier in the year that asked for additional funds, and it was only a few $1,000s, and it had to do with the investigation that we had on one of our board members earlier, and we, as a board, said no. And this is the same type of situation, but it is significantly
No,
a
that-
larger amount.
No, this one is different to the extent that that one is a contracted amount up to $49,999. This one is pretty much a as-needed basis for representation of the board. And so we have no idea as to know what things are gonna come up during the year. We just monitor it, and basically as we do, we bring it to the board so that you can approve those amounts under CH local.
Okay, hearing that, what is our budget, what did we pass in our budget for their fees for the next fiscal year?
The difference of that, the $200,000 difference?
No, I'm talking about, I understand this one because we did have some extraordinary items.
300,000, I believe that's what it was, that's what you have there in the.
Say, for next
Under-
fiscal year, 2020.
Oh,
fiscal
for
year 2020.
1920?
Yeah, this one I understand is 2019. I'm talking about the
Right.
next agenda item has, and it just says it's expected to be over for the 2020 year, which we've already approved our budget. And,
For the new fiscal year? Give me a second.
That's $12 million, or $17 million. Call me crazy, but that's a big number.
Help me with 17 million.
The next agenda.
We're on, I thought we were talking about A, you were talking about B.
Yes, we have a projected amount for 500,000 for the new year. And so this is the time that we look at the amounts for 2019 and 20.
So we're not just increasing it for 300,000 here to 500, we're actually using that same 500,000 for the 2020 year
Yeah,
as
we're
well.
looking at that number.
This is an estimate. You're not agreeing to a specific, we're gonna pay them that no matter what. But we're making the assumption that if 500,000 is acceptable for this year, we don't wanna underguess that for next year, so we put the same amount.
And so
doesn't
essentially,
mean
it's
we're
a
going to
not to
spend that much.
exceed, and if we think we're gonna exceed it,
Exactly.
you
It's
bring
a
it
not
to the
to
board
exceed
for
amount.
approval.
Right.
Even though we know we had extraordinary circumstances this year.
Right. By their very nature, though, we don't know if we'll have extraordinary items or not.
Right.
That's why they're
That's
extraordinary.
why they're
Right.
extraordinary.
And if you have, if you get to a point where we need to amend the budget, then we'll bring that to you and you will have an approval if that goes to that end.
Okay, we'll go ahead and discuss that on the next agenda item. Okay, all in favor of, or we have a motion and a second on the consensus item, right? Or the non-consensus item. Okay, is there any additional discussion on item A under 7?
I do. Actually, I do think an extra $200,000 for the attorney fees is kind of high. What was it says? Original 300,000, requesting a new total of 500,000, an increase of 200,000.
And I think Dr. Amesqua is just giving some wiggle room there because it's based on the numbers I know that have been billed through July 31st. It's, for August, it's not gonna be that much. So to date, through July 31st, for this fiscal year, through July 31st, the fees and cost were significant this past month because of the hearings, the court reporter costs and all of that. Was 380,000. So add the month of August, it's not gonna be $120,000.
Sure. But if I remember correctly, it's a pay-as-you-go contract, right? And if it's what this is saying, just what I understand this saying is up to $300,000 you don't need board approval for, I'm guessing, right? Is that what this is saying?
The board already approved
Yes.
just 3.
Yes, okay. So, but it's not saying that anything additional in that, you just go get board approval for, right?
That's what this agenda item is for. This is a creature of CH local
I understand.
policy.
So here's what I think. Here's what I remember. I remember us not needing it to be above 300,000 for the prior years. I remember we've done a whole bunch of stuff looking at attorneys and all that. So I mean, I don't know that I'm agreeing. I think 300,000 is reasonable, and if you need to be more than 300,000, I think, I don't see anything wrong with going to board approval. I'm not trying to be difficult or anything like that. I think 300,000 is reasonable, and more than that, maybe go to board approval.
That's what this is.
Superintendent.
Well, it's 500,000 actually. It's moving it up from 300,000 to 500,000. That's what I'm understanding this, reading this. It says originally 300,000. So it's saying after 500,000, you need board approval. And I actually think 300,000 is probably, is pretty reasonable, without needing board approval. That's my understanding.
Superintendent.
I also agree that I think that $300,000 is reasonable, but at times we can't predict. Like, I don't know what the bill is going to be until I get it. And the bill is essentially history. It tells me what just happened this month. And so the part that I'm perplexed with, I don't think that we're saying that we want the board or we're going to shoot to spend $500,000 a year. I think it's a fail-safe that if we end up going and exceeding $300,000, we have gotten the approval to the board, through the board, to continue with our legal assistance, but not to exceed $200,000 more. As Ms. Langlois just said a few minutes ago, I think that our margin, because we're so close to the end of the year, we may dip over 300,000. Like at the end of the year, it may go 330, 340, whatever. I see Dr. Amesqua is providing enough cushion to be able to get us through the year, and then we can make an adjustment moving forward. I study all of our legal bills. In fact, I had 2 people in my office this morning because I signed off on another bill, and I go through and I'm like, here, I want you to look at this and tell me this, that, and the other. And then I even asked the question, who is having access to the attorney? Because only specific people have access to the attorney. Principals and people just can't call Sarah, and we're on the clock and we're being charged. So we're very conscious of it, but as it was stated earlier, things come up, especially when you're dealing with an organization with 1,200 employees. You're gonna have grievances, you're gonna have a number of lawsuits or whatever, and there are times when some bills are significantly higher than the previous bill. You know how that is. So really, this is what we are requesting from the board, is to give us some room, because we may drip over $300,000, and it's a fail-safe.
And if you did drip over 300,000, you could just ask us for board approval over 300,000. And
You already have.
so there, I mean, we already have approved over 300,000. So
No, sorry. You've already, the dripped over piece that you were discussing. So again, today I just had my office manager run the numbers from September 1st, 2018, the start of the fiscal year, through July 31st, which those bills, I think, those are probably the ones you were looking at this morning that just went out, is 380.
I understand.
And so that's through July 31st is 380, and then whatever August is, and there's nothing significant that I know of that's come up yet for August, so it should just be a normal month. But in terms of the original 300, it's already over that.
Well, and I think what will end up happening is, let's say we just keep it at 300,000. What's going to happen is every single month we're going to have, even if it's for, $10,000, we're going to have to be asking for board approval for every single little thing. And we're trying to be able to have the ability to be agile as an organization to move forward without doing that every single month.
And I'm actually okay with you coming and asking for an additional 10 or 15 or $30,000. I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't mind that. I don't see this. I don't see it being restrictive on you as limiting it back to the, or just putting the pre-approval back down to the 300,000. I don't see it as being restrictive or a hindrance. And I could be wrong, but I just don't see that. So I'd be willing to, if y'all want to amend this from the request of 500,000 going back down to 300,000, I'd be agreeable to that. I think that's reasonable.
But you're already
I'm sorry. I believe that's in the next motion. I was just tying the two. The original, right now we're at 380,000, and basically what they're saying for August, they don't think they want to make sure that they have the cushion for this particular year of $120,000 extra. Ms. Langlois said otherwise, that it's more than likely just gonna be a regular bill, which would, I guess, $25,000 a year, or $25,000 a month. And having said that, to Trustee Dick's point, you're not gonna have to ask us every month. You'll ask us after the $300,000 has been, which will be literally the last month of the year. So
That's a
it's
good
not,
point.
it's only one time.
But that's the next motion, right?
That's the next motion,
Okay,
correct.
so for this motion, I guess is the question. So I guess there's two different issues. I guess one motion that we're looking at now is the one for this year, which we know we're past that. But you have an issue with the next motion, basically, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Well, and the current motion right now is up to $500,000.
Can we amend that to 380?
We can.
Well, we
We've
need
already
to have,
we've already hit 380.
yeah,
so
we're
we're not.
hit 380
Well-
through July, so.
I would, just guessing, I think if you did 415 or 420, that's gonna give you enough wiggle room, is my guess.
That's probably why he did 500.
I don't really have a problem with the 500. If it's over $50,000, we're gonna see it anyway, right?
Yeah, well, if anything goes over, even if it's $5,000, because we exceeded the original amount that the board
Yeah.
approved.
Okay, so I guess that's my question, is if we have 380, if we go to 500,000, and they actually submit a $100,000 bill, don't we get to approve that? Because it's over 50,000?
No.
No, because it's within the scope of the
This is the
contract.
approval.
Within the scope of the contract, okay, so, yeah, I'm more, Ms.
Well-
Langlois' suggestion with regard to 420,000.
Are you making a motion to amend it to 420?
If Mr. Norris and Dr. Moore agree to 420, then it's a friendly amendment, but otherwise.
I do.
Sure.
I have a question. Is the 380 through the end of July or through like this week?
Through the end of July 31st.
Okay.
Any additional discussion with regard to changing the amount from 500,000 to 420,000? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of changing it from 500,000 to 420?
Sorry, it was a friendly amendment.
Friendly amendment to the actual.
The original motion, yeah. Because Trustee Norris and Dr. Moore made the original motion to approve, and they agreed to change it to 420, so that's a friendly amendment that doesn't require a separate vote. Correct, so it's just the main motion that includes a motion to approve with the new total of 420.
I'm glad we got that discussed. Okay. Based on the attorney's question, all in favor of non-consensus item 7A, please raise your hand. Moving on to non-consensus item B, expenditures which have been previously procured and are expected to aggregate to $50,000 or more for the fiscal year 2020 under policy CH local, the variation of divisions for an aggregate amount not to exceed $17,720,420. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Anybody?
Second.
Any discussion?
I do have discussion. My problem is this isn't itemized. I don't understand what's going to where. That's what I don't understand. If it was itemized, it'd be easier for me to digest. But because it's not itemized, I don't know that I can support it. And I don't think, and then I guess another question would be, what hindrance, how would this hurt us if we postpone this to the next board meeting when we had this itemized and we'd know what's going with what? How would that hurt us, if any?
Dr. Amesqua, if this got tabled, what effect would that have? Next year, I believe, right?
Yes. We're looking at September 1. Contracts will start, and anything above 50,000 will be delayed. There should have been a list, an itemized list in your packet.
There should be an Excel attachment.
that we includes the amount. I'm not finding it in my packet here, but it should be an itemized list for all the contracts under CH Local.
Dr. Amesco, is it 773? Is that?
Okay. Yeah, 773 to 775. And there's a list of contracts of vendors that are identified with the dollar amounts for each one, and you have the RFP or the job number or the bid that was identified for each one of those. Excuse me. Some of them include technology items, Head Start items, leases for Head Start program. It includes facilities, utilities. It includes executive threat solutions, which is our security services, custodial supplies, landscaping, utilities TXU. Under human resources, we also have staffing, because we have staffing needs for temporary staff. Then we also have legal there. And then we have the employee deductions. We have the property and casualty workers' comp. And then we have insurances, life insurances, and employee deductions. And then our technology, we have computer purchases, Verizon Wireless, Comcast, basically part of our technology contracts that we have that the board has already procured, and now because our CH Local requires that if they're going to aggregate, they need to bring them to the board for approval. And we also provide that a monthly report to the board each month in your packet.
Okay, I'm looking at all this, and this is adding to the current, I need to be clear on this. Is there any revenue that's gonna offset some of the $17 million? Because, just to give you a big picture, it looks like we're 15% off of our budget that we passed, this budget that we passed, and now we're gonna add 17 million. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, no, it is not. Let me just clarify that amount is within the budget that's appropriated for 19 and 20, and revenue projected for that is already been accounted for the fiscal year 2019 and 2020.
Okay.
So it's not adding
This is all
this
within the
on top of the budget.
This is
no.
not an additional.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Are you just detailing out those items here of what was in the budget, so we would know? Okay.
Basically.
So when I look at these, yeah, I mean, there's where the 500,000 for next year for the attorneys is in
Yes.
there. And then the big items that I see are the TRS, active care for the employees.
Right.
Which, okay, I get that. And a few other major items like security that are I'm looking at all the big ones. And so in the lease that you have for the Head Start office.
Right.
And so those, you're saying they're all budgeted in that
Yes.
for this new budget? Okay. I'm good.
Okay, in light of our earlier discussion, then, I would like to offer an amendment to the one contract with regard to the attorneys, and that's bringing it to $300,000.
Okay.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Yeah, Eric. Okay.
Is that a friendly amendment? I'm just making sure. Okay, that's an amendment. Okay, you're asking. This is the amendment motion. Okay, gotcha. Making sure.
Any additional discussion with regard to the attorney's contract? All in favor for?
Wait, yeah, I got a question.
Okay.
Does 300,000 cover the base contract amount?
There's no base contract amount. It's just we bill by the hour, and that's included in the contract what the hourly rates are. And then so what Dr. Amesco does is just he estimates based on past years, what's the total probably going to be or may be for this next fiscal year, and so that's that's how he got to that number.
Right.
I guess the question is, in years past, because it seems like this year we definitely have been working your firm a good bit because we've asked some specific questions. But the question is, in years past, has it been around? I guess the
250, 270 in that.
It's been a lot lower. That's why.
The key difference here this year, one major difference was was special education services. In years past, we've never really done anything relating to special ed for HCDE. In this past year, that's a significant piece. I will say, I don't want to speak for Mr. Colbert or the schools division, but I don't see that changing this coming fiscal year in terms of that additional work. It's still ongoing this month, but I don't have a crystal ball, so.
Well, and I'll say to our president's point earlier that, you know, typically when we get to that red line, it's going to be towards the end of the fiscal year. And if necessary, I'll put an agenda item and ask for an amendment. You know, you just absolutely never know. I mean, you know, one year we have a lot of personnel issues, another year we may have a lot of special ed issues.
Additional discussion?
A little bit. It'd be nice, because this is a lot to digest all at once. It would be nice, like in the future, if this could be like kind of segregated out to like, you know, maybe your fixed cost and your variable cost, or just so we can kind of better digest this, because it's kind of hard to, it's a lot to take in all at once. It really is. It's a lot of information.
Sure, we try to include contract information there. We'll maybe even add subcategories to identify what's utilities, what's variable cost.
Maybe just break it down to like one section just being insurance, then another section being utilities. That'd be a lot easier to digest, because it's just a whole, it's like a hodgepodge. Here's 17 million, approve it. And it makes us a little bit nervous, that's all.
Another suggestion is an additional column showing what the original contract amount was.
That'd be helpful too, very much so.
Like for the past year?
So if it's increased, we know there's an increase. If there's a decrease, we know it's a decrease.
Okay, and we're, to be clear, we're right now, the motion on the floor is from 500 to 300. And then once we get that cleared up, then we can go back to the main motion of B, the whole $17 million. Any additional discussion with regard to the contract, the attorney's contract? Seeing none, all in favor of using the amount 300,000 as a base, please raise your hand. All opposed? Okay. Okay, now back to the main motion of B. Do I have any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll move to the vote. All in favor of B as amended, please raise your hand. Six up. Okay, moving on to C, consider approval of RFQ 19/049 year engineering services for a pool to engineers to be contracted as needed by both Harris County Department of Education and PFC. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm assuming this is a no money, it's just this is the pool that we can draw from.
Right, that's correct.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed? Moving on, item D, renewal of option and contract for job 17/043 KJ for adolescent recovery support and counseling services for HCDE Fortis Academy with the following vendor. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, I do have a little bit of discussion, and it pulls together the other items as well that have Fortis attached to them. It comes up to, there's two other items for 60,000 and 88,000, which are M and N, and then this 242,000. I'm just give me a little help as far as how this works in the budget process.
Okay, this is budgeted in the FY 19 and 20 fiscal year. And so this one starts until the December fiscal timeframe. And so the current contract runs to November. And so we're just basically renewing it for the following year.
So this and the other two items are already budgeted?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of item D, please raise your hand. Item E. Consider approval of estimated reserve fund balance for non-spendable, restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned under the government accounting standards. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Please keep in mind that these are estimated guesses at how we're going to end up the year. So when we go through the audit and we have any reserves, that this is what we will set aside and present to you on the January board meeting once we go through the annual audit and basically end up the revenues and the expenses. So this is a projection.
And is this located back in the details? I thought it was, and it's not page 812.
It's page 814.
Okay.
814?
All right. Oh, okay, I see it. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying it's non-spendable. Is that what we're getting ready to say? We can't spend it?
No, you have three categories that are required by GASB 54 that needs to be presented a resolution. The first one is non-spendable fund balance. If we have any inventory items or deferred items, we will place them there at the end of the year. We will not do that until we do the accruals at August 31st. So that's an estimated guess of what those numbers are going to be at August 31st. Once we go through the accruals and we know that we have recorded those at the end of the year, then of course we'll know the exact amount of the non-spendable amount. The committed fund balance is where you have the board authority to designate amounts for committed for a specific purpose. And you have three items there. You have capital projects, unemployment liability, and retirement leave. In recent years, we've had more and more folks reach retirement age, and so those numbers continue to go up. So this is just an anticipation of projected expenditures in the future. And then the last one is assigned fund balance. Those are items that have been assigned for specific projects. Some of them is debt service, some of them is replacement cost and acquisition, asset replacement, local construction cost, workforce development, and program initiatives as those get implemented by the department. And then where you have the last one where it says unassigned, this is where we are projecting how we're going to end up the year. We are started the year with 17.7. We project that we're going to end up with additional 230,000 of approximately 18,000. Again, give or take, depending on how we end up the year out August 31st.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? All in favor? Let's get item F. Consider approval amendment number 1 to service contract for Child Care Careers, LLC, in the amount not to exceed $285,000. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Next item G, consider approval of revenue agreement with Education Foundation of Harris County with Harris County Department of Education, Case for Kids for 3 years from August 2019 through 2020. I asked earlier about the reports on that.
So this is the third year of a 3-year grant. We've been funded from the Houston Endowment since 2005, and we're entering year 3, so this contract is for our startup of this year.
Where will that money be spent? I think it's $75,000.
Most of it goes towards personnel, and then it also goes toward out of cases budget HCDE, and then most of it's for a staff person that supports county out of school time programs and different money that we certify through that complements our Houston Galveston Area Council contract. And the other little smaller portion goes towards participating in the Every Hour Counts National Conference and membership to that organization.
Is this spent through the Education Foundation or through HCDE?
Through HCDE. This is a contract that passes the funds from
right. The money
foundation
comes
to
from
us.
the foundation to the Education Foundation, and then the foundation cuts a check to the Department of Education, and we budget it under the CASE program for those particular projects.
We don't have any liability with regard to the Education Foundation moving this money?
No.
Okay.
No. In fact, I think on the endowment, and they rather fund a nonprofit organization as opposed to a taxing entity.
We have worked with them since 2005, and it's just always been through our foundation.
Okay, I'm just concerned because of some questions that have been brought up with regard to Education Foundation that we might not be.
Yeah,
okay.
That's fine.
Any additional discussion?
I don't even think we have a motion on the floor, so I
moved.
moved. Second.
Yes.
Okay.
One of a second moved.
Any additional discussion? Okay, I'll be voting against this because I'm not real familiar with how the Education Foundation is working. So, seeing no additional discussion, all in favor? All opposed? Item H, contract renewal for option for job 16/038LB and renew coverage for workers' compensation insurance with Arthur Gallagher and Company. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Item I, consider possible action on certification of the anticipated debt collection rate for the tax year 2019, certification of the excess collected debt. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is a required item that to have the Harris County tax assessor collector calculate the effective tax rate and bring it to you at the September board meeting.
Discussion. All in favor? Item J, consider acceptance of the carryover funds from the Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Child, Family, and the HCDE Head Start. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Item K, consider approval of a resolution amending the authorized representatives in the Lone Star, Tex Pool, Tex Star investment pools due to change in investment responsibility in the business office.
The new individual is Ms. Stephanie Wright, who's a chief accounting officer, and so that's basically to approve her access to the investment pools.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor? Moving on, item L, consistent with board policy FO legal, consider approval of the HCD Schools Division Superintendent, State Student Code of Conduct. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Item M, consider approval for job order contract for the Fortis Academy camera system upgrade project. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
So this is, yeah, there is, just a second. So this is just an upgrade of what we already have? That,
Yes, sir, Dr. Moore. I'm Joe Carreon, Construction Director. So this is a capital improvement upgrade, changing from a coaxial analog type camera to a new Cat6 power over Ethernet camera with analytic capabilities. Yes, sir.
okay. Better quality, I assume.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dial up to broadband. Yes, sir.
That was a redundant question.
Any additional discussion? All in favor? Item M, consider approval of job order contract for Fortis Academy Camera System Upgrade Project. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Consider approval of job contract for Challenge Course Project at Fortis Academy. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. So is this a challenge course, a rope course? Is that what that is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That was
So-
originally budgeted with renovations.
And so we're basically, this is an additional to what was budgeted?
No, Joe, no, this isn't an addition. This has always been budgeted. We're just to the point where we're actually finally
Oh,
starting the
okay.
construction of it.
Okay, very good. Then why are we?
Any additional discussion?
The board will be scheduled to go through that, right?
No.
I'm excited about it. I don't want to go do that.
Get your sling off your arm now.
Going through it.
Any additional discussion? All in favor? Item O, this is considered a first reading of the following revised local policies, and they are listed there. And I've been advised that we don't have to make any changes today, but this is the first reading. And if legal counsel will give us some guidance as far as where we go, and is this emotional, even though it's the first reading? Yeah.
No, so there's no vote today. It's just a first reading and discussion only.
Okay. So I would like some explanation as what process. We have it from TASB. We have some adjustments that we're going to make. What is our process to either change what we see or leave it the way it was, or
Sure.
accept what we're doing, and how's that go?
So the board will recall we had a policy committee meeting this past Friday and went through all of these policies and changes by consensus in some instances with the policy committee, and other just requests that were made during that policy committee meeting. There are, in some instances, two versions of policy that you'll see in these binders based on those requests. Additionally, there was a question with regards to DIA local and the revisions that were being suggested by TASB there. With the board's permission, I'd prefer to discuss the case law and the current status of the law with regards to those changes in executive session.
Okay, and since there's no motion on the table, we can do that. So we'll just suspend any discussion with regard to this to executive session. Moving on to P, consider acceptance of the notice of award for Early Head Start Child Care Partnership. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, we're now going to go into executive session under Texas Government Code pursuant to any and all purposes permitted by sections 551.001 through 551.084, including but not limited to 551.071 through 551.074. The time is 2:35. after executive session, it is now 2:53. Do we have any motions? Are you going to make a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Oh, a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No, no discussion. All in favor? Okay, let's go.
I saw you switch gears.
Yeah.
Kind of pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Come around the other way.
They grow up too fast.
Okay.
Got some stuff I need to keep.
That's what I just want to make sure that if you needed us to print you another one, let us know.
No, we're good. Thank you so much.